Have you ever stopped to think what life was really like tens of thousands of years ago on the Indian subcontinent? Before the big empires, before cities, even before writing? Well, that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to decode the earliest chapters of human history in India, a story that's not told in books, but in stone, in art, and eventually in the first glimmers of metal.
So, where do we even begin a story this big? Well, our journey starts in a place that's less of a ruin and more of a living museum. We're heading to the Bhimbetka rock shelters in central India. It's basically the subcontinent's oldest and most massive art gallery. I want you to just picture this. You walk into these ancient caves, and the walls just come alive. The art here, some of it goes back to 10,000 BCE, shows us a world that's long gone. You've got these vibrant scenes of communal dances, really tense hunting moments, and these incredible drawings of animals like bison and elephants, all painted in these earthy reds, whites, and greens. So you see this amazing art, and it just makes you wonder, right? Who were these artists? What can these images tell us about their lives, what they believed in, what their world was actually like? This is the central mystery we're going to try and unravel. And get this, the sheer scale of Bhimbetka is it's staggering. We're not talking about one or two painted caves here. Archaeologists have found over 750 of these rock shelters. It's so significant, it's a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and truly one of the largest prehistoric places on the entire planet. You can only imagine what it must feel like to stand there. The largest shelter, which they called the Auditorium Cave, is so huge that one researcher, Robert Bednarik, said it has a cathedral-like atmosphere. You can just tell it must have been an incredibly important place for these ancient people. Okay, so who were the people who made all this art? Well, those paintings at Bhimbetka are our window into this enormous period we call the Stone Age. But, the Stone Age wasn't just a single moment in time. It was this epic saga that played out over hundreds of thousands of years. So, to really get their story, we need to get the timeline straight. The whole era is broken down into three main parts. First up, you have the Paleolithic, or Old Stone Age, which started a mind-boggling 500,000 years ago. Then comes the Mesolithic, or Middle Stone Age, around 10,000 BC, and that's the sweet spot when most of that incredible Bhimbetka art was being made. And finally, you get the Neolithic, or New Stone Age, which kicks off around 7,000 BC, and, well, it changed absolutely everything. For the vast, vast majority of human history, life was Paleolithic. It was a totally nomadic existence. A life of constant movement, always following animal herds, gathering plants for food. Your survival literally depended on your group and your very basic but very effective stone tools like hand axes and cleavers. Then, around 10,000 BC, during that Mesolithic period, the climate starts to change. It gets warmer, and as the world changed, so did human technology. It really took a leap forward. And this is where the story connects right back to Bhimbetka. The art from this period shows us new weapons, things like barbed spears, and most importantly, the bow and arrow. And archaeologists have actually found the tools themselves. These tiny, razor-sharp stone points called microliths, which would have been used for the tips of those arrows and spears. The paintings also give us this incredible peek into their social lives, with scenes of group dances and what look like family rituals. But the biggest change of all was still on the horizon. The next phase, the Neolithic. It marks one of the most important transformations in all of human history, the invention of farming. This wasn't just a new way to find food. It was a completely new way to live. It turned their entire world upside down. This incredible transformation has a name. It's called the Neolithic Revolution. It's that moment when humanity started to switch from constantly being on the move searching for food to actually settling down in one place, growing their own food, and building permanent communities. I mean, the difference was just night and day. Before, life was all about following the food. After, it was about creating the food. People started growing crops like wheat and barley, they domesticated animals, and for the very first time, they built permanent homes out of mud brick. The whole idea of a village was born right here. But of course, the innovation didn't stop there. Humans are innovators, right? After mastering stone, they made another massive discovery. They figured out how to work with metal, and that kicked off a brand new technological age. This next chapter is called the Chalcolithic Age. And the name, it sounds a little complicated, but it tells you the whole story. Chalco is Greek for copper, and lithos means stone. So it was this hybrid era, a copper-stone age, where the very first metal tools were being used right alongside the good old reliable stone tools of their ancestors. So what did this new tech actually look like? Well, archaeologists have found some amazing examples of early copper work. People became pretty skilled coppersmiths, crafting all sorts of tools and weapons like axes and harpoons. But it's really important to remember that stone tools didn't just vanish overnight, not at all. They were still a vital part of everyday life. So picture life in the Chalcolithic age. It was mostly rural. People are living in these settled villages, raising animals like cattle, sheep, and goats. They were also skilled artists, making these beautiful beads from semi-precious stones. And they had very distinct rituals. And here's something really fascinating. They often buried their dead right under the floors of their very own houses. And it's super important to realize, these changes weren't happening the same way everywhere. The Chalcolithic age in India wasn't some single unified culture. It was more like a mosaic of all these distinct regional groups, like the Jorwe and Malwa cultures, that were each developing in their own corner of the subcontinent. So we've gone from the very first stone axes all the way to intricate copper tools. It's a journey of just incredible human innovation. And it really makes you think, doesn't it? If those were the Stone Age and the Copper Age, what will historians thousands of years from now call our time? The Silicon Age? The Plastic Age? It's a pretty interesting thought to leave you with.